Welcome back to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. Before the break, we were talking with Dr. Allen about the executive order that came down, the pathway that has been paved and opened up for increased AI infrastructure and some of the implications that we have to consider as entrepreneurs. So I want to dive right into the next question. I want to talk about what this means for those of us who are investors, because there's a lot of investors who watch this, and it's important for our founders and CEOs to understand where's the money going, because that answers some of our questions on strategy. So as this executive order has paved the way to kind of get rid of roadblocks to building AI infrastructure and data centers, if you will. What, as investors, if we're looking to get into that market, like what are the considerations that we have? Because it's a lucrative market right now. We know that because we can look at the public documentation and the profitability of the bigs that are in this game. But what do we need to consider, or what should we be thinking about when it comes to investing as it comes to artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I think this whole energy dynamic with compute and the algorithms and all those other technologies are really going to they're converging. They're converging a lot faster than many of us thought even it was going to early last year. And so what that does is it creates some opportunities though for investors to look at companies that are specializing in certain areas, whether it's technology breakthroughs and data center monitoring and automation, to technology breakthroughs even for the energy companies themselves, and trying to figure out ways that they can do things more efficient, more clean, all those things. And so as these large entities continue to really pave the way, there's usually opportunities for smaller businesses to take advantage of that, because they can get hyper focused where a market size that could be a couple $100 million is big for a small business, but these giant megalith companies and private equity firms, that's not something they're usually going to be interested in because it's just too small for them. So pay attention to the things that are happening. Pay attention to the things that the technology breakthroughs that those folks are coming up with that will allow you to really accelerate your ability to either develop something new, a new algorithm, a new service that you can provide to your customers, or even a new technology itself that will really enhance something else. Because those are the opportunities I think that folks usually are not quite paying attention to, but you'll hear 3, 4, 5 months down the road, oh, somebody did this, and you're like, oh, darn it, I thought about that. Why didn't I do that? Well, it's going to be an opportunity for many of us to really jump in and take advantage of some of those.
Yeah, and I really believe that speed of implementation is everything, because if we sit on the fence and we wait 6 months, that opportunity is going to pass us by. Because if we're thinking about the infrastructure side of things, or the breakthroughs, once it's there, like it's everybody else is running to catch up. So we want to make sure that we're there in positions uniquely to take advantage of the height of the selling and the exit, honestly, as investors.
Yep.
So I want to ask now a slightly different question, because earlier before the break, you talked about getting the models, AI models, getting smaller, more effective, more efficient, niching down to solve very specific problems. And can we use these smaller models that use less of the resources to do the same thing? And so as business owners, there's a lot of us who have sat on the sidelines. As executives, we've put planning for AI, we keep kicking it down the curb, and we don't think that the time is now. Because in the news we're seeing the big companies, Microsoft had said we're throwing $80 billion into infrastructure for AI, for example. We see repositioning of the companies that are at the top of the charts. What does that mean for us? And is the time running out for us to start that AI strategy and to get on that bus?
You almost want to think about it as a doomsday clock. I hate to say that, but the clock's almost going to strike midnight. And the problem is if the longer you wait, the faster you're going to have to try to do something, the more likely you're going to make a mistake. And you've got to take that first step. If you haven't done that already, then you really maybe have a few months in order to be able to take advantage of something. Because the problem is that somebody else in your market or your industry is already doing it, and you're going to try to catch up, and that never works out well. And it gives you, though, the opportunity to really stand on the shoulders of some other giants that have paved the way. You don't have to try to invent or develop your own large language model. Use the ones that are already out there. There are so many of them that people don't realize. Go to Hugging Face, for goodness sakes, and you'll be able to almost choose from hundreds of large language models that are out there of different sizes. And you can even look for data that can help you train your models if you want to, or you can go to a specialist and they can help you develop them. But it's not that hard anymore. And if people continue to push that down the road and kick the can down the road because they're either nervous about doing it, oh, they don't have the budget to do that, well, you got to find the budget. You got to figure out a way that you can do that, because waiting until 26, you may not be around until 26, because you will feel the impacts within the next 2 to 3 months, more than likely, because the government is already looking at it. So if you're a contractor, a government contractor, and you're not doing it, you're way behind. If you're in the commercial sector, whether it's the call centers, the medical industry, heck, even mining, for goodness sakes, you're way behind because others are already doing it. And just continuing to wait and make excuses means that either you don't have the knowledge to do that and you really need to go get some assistance on that, or you think that you don't need it. And if you are one of the ones that think that you don't need it, I can give you a ton of examples where folks have said they didn't think they need it and they are almost out of business.
Yeah, and I've seen it as well. We've talked about this before, and it's really important that we're asking ourselves the question: if my competition all of a sudden has a 40 to 70% reduction in their operating expenses, can I still afford to compete in this marketplace? Because the reality is we think our competition doesn't have this, isn't utilizing this, but the reality is if they are developing this and they're piloting it and they're now rolling it out company wide, they're going to eat us for lunch. And we're seeing that in a couple of industries that are like, no, we don't have tech. Well, guess what? Those are the most ripe marketplaces. And I hear it all day long. I know you do too. I hear it on the investor front. I hear it on the business strategy front with the clients that I coach. So I know that you have you have an AI readiness event coming up. I know you have a tool. I know you work with companies to assess, are they ready? And if so, at what do they need to do to get ready? Can you talk a little bit about that and then share how we can reach you?
Yeah, we have a process that we use that we look at a lot of different things from a technology perspective, from a process perspective, and even a management perspective. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to help companies get ready. They think they're ready, and they take that first step, they realize they're not ready, or their processes are old and they're trying to do some different things with it, and they just don't really work at the speed that AI works. Agile development is a perfect example of that. When you're using AI to develop code, you don't need a 2-week sprint anymore. You need a 2-hour sprint in some cases. And so what you've got to do is you've got to make sure all of those pieces fit together. And what we're trying to do is work with companies, go through an assessment, see where they are, get them built up, give them some ways that they can get some early wins. And then when they have those, then they can really start to look at, okay, how do I want to take this to my customer? How do I want to save money internally, and increase the capacity of my current employees? All of those things become relevant then. And that's what we're trying to do. And, I talk to folks about this all the time. I talk to it on my show, as well, AI Today with Dr. Alan Badeau at, 6 o'clock Central Time on Wednesdays. And so please pay attention to those things. I'm happy to answer, emails on LinkedIn. Any of those things that are ways that folks can get a hold of me to ask those types of questions.
Fantastic. Thank you. And our action step for the day, folks, is if you're not looking at AI, if you don't understand if you're ready for integration or if you're thinking about your next integration, today is the day to reach out to Alan, because Alan is there. He has resources that can help you very rapidly assess where you are and help you get to where you need to be. Dr. Alan, thank you so much for joining us again today.
Thanks again, Jen.
And you, yes, you, I'm talking to you. You have an action step. Today is the day for you to get off that bus or get on the bus of AI and understand what can this do for my business, for my company. If you're an investor, today is the day to dive into what does that executive order actually mean? If I'm in the real estate space, how can I leverage that? What are the things that I can do to take advantage of this train that's coming, and it's going to run us over if we're not on the train? We don't want to be caught on the tracks. So today's the day to take action. Know where you are, get your baseline, reach out to experts such as myself, such as Dr. Allen on LinkedIn, and let's move that train forward so that you are set for inevitable success in your business. Without further ado, all the good things come to an end, including this show. But the good news is we will be here same time, same station next week. So until then, win today, win this week, and I'll see you next time.